All right, hello everybody. Welcome to our incoming ninth grade virtual session tonight. So it looks like we're still getting quite a few people logging in, so we'll give it another minute or two so we can get everyone on here before we start the presentation.
All right. Erin, are you able to see the presentation on there?
Yes, I can see. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get started. It is 6 o'clock. Welcome everyone. I am Erin Hill, one of the counselors at Cal High.
And I'm Cheryl Youngberg, also one of the counselors here at Cal High.
So we also have another counselor, Becky Bellini. She's here. She's going to help with questions. So I know there might be a lot of questions as we go. But we're hoping those questions can be held to the end just because we're going to be covering a lot of information. And we know that a lot of the questions you might have now will most likely be covered as we go through the presentation. So if you can hold the questions, that would be great. There will be an opportunity towards the end to get those questions answered. So officially, I'd like to welcome the class of 2030. We're so excited to have you here at Cal. This class is especially special to me because I have a daughter who will be an incoming ninth grader as well. So I know I'm feeling what you're feeling right now. So all the feels of the transition from middle school to high school is huge. And I know it's nerve-wracking and all the things as you transition into high school. So we hope that this presentation provides you with information and maybe a little bit of a peace of mind. We do these presentations every single year, and we meet with your students one-on-one, and we're doing classroom presentations all the time. So just know that you don't have to know everything right now. So don't feel overwhelmed if you don't. So we will jump right in. So like I said, the Q&A, we will have questions at the end. So just know that the chat is off just so you can be present and listen to the information. And most likely we'll cover your question, hopefully. We do ask that you don't ask specific questions about your child just because we just want to keep the questions general. If you do have specific questions, we will be coming to the middle schools. So your student can ask us directly or we can get those questions answered later. All right, so on the agenda today, we are covering quite a bit of information. We're going to introduce our counseling team, go over the Bell schedule here at Cal. We are on a block schedule, so it's a bit of a change from middle school. We'll review the graduation versus the A through G requirements, which are the college requirements. We're going to go over all the Cal High courses, not all of them, but just the classes that are available to the ninth graders and the college versus the college requirements. We're going to go over registering for classes on School Links, NDC, so advancement if you're taking an outside course, Cal High Athletics. We're going to offer some good tips for transitioning into high school, talk about our open house, and have a Q&A. All right, so just an introduction of our counseling team. We have 8 counselors here at Cal, so 7 counselors that have an alphabet. So we cover all grade levels. So all of us on our counseling caseloads have freshmen through seniors. And we really, really hope to keep those students with us as we go through the years. Sometimes there is a bit of a change if enrollment changes or if there's other things that go on, we might have to adjust our alphabets a little bit, but we hope to keep your student all the way through. It's really nice to watch them grow from 9th grade to senior. Some big changes happen. So this is how the alphabet's broken down this year. You can see all the counselors' names with the alphabet. Could change. You can check the counseling website for any changes. But as of now, here we are. Ms. Placati is our counseling secretary. She's a great smiling face in our office and very helpful if you ever call and have questions. She deals with a lot of things such as work permits and things like that. If your student wants to get a job as they enter, or not right away, as they go through high school a little later. Ms. Batu is our registrar. She deals with all transcripts and lots of non-district courses. So if you have questions about that, you can reach out to Ms. Batu. And then Ms. V is our counselor technician. So she's a great resource in our office as well. And if your student needs to replace their ID card at some point, they can come on into the office and she'll help you. So just if your student hasn't had counseling services in school, we're school-based support. So we offer a lot of different supports for your student. I mean, every day is different here in regards to what we do with students. Of course, there's a lot of academic guidance, course planning. We work with students one-on-one for career planning, college planning. We're doing a lot of four-year plans as well. And then personal support. Every day we see students for social emotional counseling. So we're just kind of a soft place to land if your student needs any support. Like there's lots of stress. We try to guide them in ways to limit the stress, but you know, it could get overwhelming at some point in high school. There could be issues going on. So we're here for that, you know, and we definitely, our students know our doors are open. So we have a lot of resources. If you want to reach out, if parents or students want to reach out, we have a lot of resources to give as well. So we also have a wellness center. I think the middle schools have wellness centers as well, but we have a great staff in there. We're really proud of our wellness center. It's just a wonderful place for reset breaks. So we know, like I was talking about, the days could get stressful and it's not always a smooth road for every student. So this is a place students can do a quick 15-minute reset. It's a phone-free zone. So there's a lot of therapy tools in there for students to use. They can be referred by staff, by friends. They can come in on their own, and it's always confidential, you know, unless we need to have that not be confidential. But a lot of the students that go in there just love it, you know, for the reset. Our wellness center coordinator, Miss Hobbs, has amazing groups going on each week. Therapy dogs coming in. So if you're a student that loves dogs, usually once a week, the therapy dogs are here to pet and just love on. So it's a great resource here. College and Career Center, Miss Nichols, she's wonderful. She's a wealth of knowledge. I know that 8th graders might not be thinking about future quite yet. Some of them are, some of them are not. But as you go through, she gets to know the students, you know, and she really gets to know, like, even if they don't know what they want to do, she's like, what do you like to do? What are your strengths? And she really brings that out of them, you know, as they're going through here. You know, as they get older, they're going to start exploring more careers and colleges. She's got hundreds of colleges come for visits, so students can pop in and learn about a college, ask questions, and that's happening throughout the year. Volunteer opportunities. A lot of our students are asking us daily, how can we volunteer? How can we get out there in the community and get some hours? So she has a lot of options for them. And just keep in mind that Cal High does not require volunteer hours. We do have a lot of students coming in who ask, you know, how they're supposed to report their hours to the school. We always recommend they just keep a log of their own hours, because then when they apply to college, they'll have a nice documentation of all the hours they've done and all the great work they've done. Also, financial aid. This will be later in high school, but she's a great source of scholarships, financial aid, and college entrance questions. Ms. Youngberg, you are muted.
Sorry about that. Thank you. Okay. All right. I'm just going to do a general overview of the block schedule and how it works at Cal High. Don't have to memorize it tonight. Definitely one where a lot of kids, once they get used to it, they really kind of like how the schedule works. But essentially, our block schedule is based on odd periods and even periods, and we have students that attend 3 classes per day. So a regular day, say for an odd period day, would be a student would go to their first period class, and then after that, they will go to a student support period where they can select where they need to get extra support in a certain class. Maybe they're making up a test, or maybe they just need a regular quiet place to study. Students will have an opportunity the week prior to choose where they want to attend for their student support the following week. After that 30-minute student support, students go to brunch, quick 10-minute break where students can, use the restroom, grab a snack, things like that. After that, then they will go to their 3rd period class, and you'll see that they get a break in between each class. They'll have a lunch after that, and then they will finish with 5th period. We do also have A B period, we'll kind of talk about that a little bit later as far as how that works and what opportunities students do have to take a B period, because we do have only special programs that allow for that. And so that is something that actually does meet 4 days a week, every single day except for Wednesday. Also, Wednesdays, we do not have a student support period or a B period. And every single day, students for Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday, the regular day gets out at 2:40, whereas students do get out early on Wednesdays at 2:05, since we don't have that B period and there is no student support. Okay, so essentially students are going to their odd day, which is periods 1 through 5, or their even day, periods 2, 4, 6, and those just rotate every day. So if an odd day ends on a Friday, that following Monday when they come back to school, that'll be an even day. All right, and I know that sounds confusing, but I promise you the kids will pick up on it much quicker than the adults do. All right, so I know there's a lot of information on this page. I do want to go over it in detail. After I do, we will also kind of go over each subject requirement as well. So I know a lot of questions can come from just this page here, but if you can hang on and see, we'll kind of go over each of those areas in the following slides. All right, so for high school graduation at Cal High, we do have our high school graduation requirements where students are required to earn 220 credits in order to graduate, and they earn them by fulfilling these subject areas. As you can see on the left-hand side, the left-hand column, there's the subject area. That middle column is our graduation requirements, and the column on the right is the A to G requirements. That's something that they are going to be hearing a lot of. The A to G requirements are essentially our college entrance requirements for the UC and CSU. So they will often be hearing the A to G. So A to G, what does that mean? If you look on the left-hand side of the subject area, it really is just the letter corresponding to the subject area. So A is social science, B is English, C is math, and so forth. Okay, so there are some differences. There are, different requirements for graduation, and the A to G requirements may require more in certain areas, and there are other areas where graduation is a little bit higher. So we'll just kind of go through every single level here. So for social science, for graduation from Cal High, students are going to be doing 15 credits of world history. That includes a year of world history in the 10th grade, and that also includes a semester of Intro to Ethnic Studies in the 9th grade. They'll also complete a year of U.S. history in the junior year, and in the senior year, they'll complete a semester of government and a semester of economics. Colleges, the UC-CSU, however, for A to G, they require only 1 year of world and 1 year of U.S. history. English is the same for both graduation and A to G requirements. We require 4 years, which is equivalent to 40 credits, and that is also what the colleges require too. For math, it is a little bit different. We require a minimum of completing at least a year of Algebra 1 for 10 credits, and then after that, an additional year of math. So if there are students who have done Algebra 1 in middle school, that's totally okay, but when you do come to high school, you still have to somehow get those 20 credits, okay? So make sure either way, you should at least be doing the bare minimum of 2 years. Colleges, however, they do require that students complete math through Algebra 2. So Algebra 1, geometry, and then Algebra 2. And if students are able, if they can go on, that's absolutely recommended, and they do recommend a math class also in the senior year. For science, for graduation, very similar, similar to the A to G requirements. We require a year of life science, which is 10 credits, and a year of physical science, which is 10 credits as well. That is also what the UCs and CSUs require. They recommend a 3rd year of science if students are able to, but the bare minimum to be eligible to apply would be a 1 year of life and 1 year of physical, the same for graduation. The world language and the fine arts, that can be a little bit tricky. Our breadth requirement for those, for that area. So there's 3 areas: world language, fine arts, and applied arts. And for graduation, students must fulfill 2 out of those 3 areas, okay? For colleges, however, they do require 2 levels of the same language. 3 levels is recommended. So a lot of students might be completing their first year in 7th and 8th grade of Spanish or French right now. And then they're going to continue on, hopefully, and do Spanish 2 or French 2 in their freshman year. That would actually count as 2 levels for the colleges. So they will consider that first level that's done in the middle school. Okay, they recommend 3 levels, however. All right. The other thing that is a little bit different too for the colleges is that they require at least 1 year of a fine art. So those are our visual and performing arts. Those are classes such as band, choir, theater, art, ceramics, photography, digital photo. We have a lot of great opportunities and options for fine arts at our school. Okay, and then the electives. This can be, I think this tends to trip up a lot of our students the most, and they tend to panic about this because they're like, gosh, that's a lot of credits, 50 credits. But we just want students to be aware that 50 credits also includes any extra courses that you've completed after the minimum graduation requirement. So for example, if you've already done your biology class in your freshman year, you do your chemistry class in your sophomore year, but then you also know that you want to do a 3rd and a 4th level of science. That 3rd and 4th level of science is going to be thrown into that elective bucket. Okay, same thing for math. You might do 4 years of math, 2 years are required for graduation. Those additional 2 years will automatically fall into electives. A lot of students don't see that elective number start going down until towards the end of their junior year, just because of freshman and sophomore years, they really are fulfilling all of those subject area requirements. So they'll see that number go down a lot of times towards the end of the junior year. All right, and then colleges, they do require 1 year, and that can, an extra year, that can fall into any category of A to G, an approved elective. Cal High requires that students fulfill 2 years of PE. That first year is going to be fulfilled at Cal High in PE 9 in 9th grade. And then that second year, they could do any time between 10th through 12th grade, and we'll kind of go over the details of that. And then health, they'll also be doing in 9th grade as a semester class. And the colleges don't require either the PE or the health, but that is a high school graduation requirement. So on the bottom there, just kind of want to make it very clear. You will earn credit at Cal High if you at least pass and earn a D- or higher. That can go towards graduation and you will earn the credit. But A to G colleges, they do require a C- or higher in your courses. So if you end up with a grade lower than that, then that is a class that you would have to repeat if your intention is to apply directly to a 4-year college. All right, so I know that was a lot of information. I'll try and slow it down a little bit here, but essentially, here's what we're kind of looking at for your 9th grade classes. Most of the selections on this page here are pretty much required. So there isn't a ton of choice for our 9th graders, okay? As far as elsewhere, they have to make sure that they're fulfilling these requirements in English, in social studies, in PE, and math, and they'll also be in a science. So those core classes, they're already going to be scheduled in, and that kind of leaves room potentially for a student to choose a world language, a fine art, things like that. So I'll go over those in detail as far as what our offerings are for 9th graders. Okay, like I mentioned, English 9, and then there's also an option to choose English 9 Justice and Community. So students will be choosing one or the other, as you can kind of read on your own here, the differences between the two. Essentially, they both are covering the standards. They are both college prep. They are both seen the same in the college's eyes. It just depends on the student's preference. So there is a class called Justice Community. That one does explore literature and nonfiction through the themes of justice, identity, and community. And so there's lots of options for discussion, connecting learning to real world issues and civic responsibility. Okay, so that is a choice that students will be making. So definitely something to look into if you want to look further into that in the course catalog, but they both meet the same requirement for English. Science. So We do strongly recommend that students start their biology class in the 9th grade year. However, we do allow students as well, if they feel that what's best for them is that they delay it till their 10th grade year. You know, they have 4 years essentially to fulfill the requirement of doing 2 years of science. So if a student doesn't feel like they're ready for biology in that 9th grade year, they can certainly opt to delay it to their 10th grade year. But it is our recommendation that students start it in that 9th grade year. We do pre-schedule it in their schedule when we're kind of building it. So a lot of students will, but when you guys do your course planner, you may see that it's already in there for you. All right. And then, of course, that first level is biology for students. Math. So we work with the middle schools directly, and we take a look and see what they're currently enrolled in. And then we go off the recommendation of the teacher, off of the student's final grade. And essentially, if students are performing at a C level, receiving a C minus or higher, you will be recommended for the next math level. If you are earning a D plus or lower, you will be recommended to either repeat the same class in the 9th grade year, or if there are options over the summer to remediate, to move forward. All right, so we do work with your middle school math teachers to determine your placement for 9th grade. All right, world language. So a lot of students may, like I said, have started in middle school with French or with Spanish. But in our requirement here, students may be taken to satisfy the high school graduation requirements. It's not required just for graduation, but it is required for colleges to meet that A to G requirement. As you can see there, the 2 levels of the same language and a 3rd level is recommended. So Spanish and French, if you're currently in Spanish 1B or French 1B and earning a grade of C or higher, please register for Spanish 2 or French 2. If you have also in Mandarin, you will be able to start that at level 1. For students who are native speakers, there is an opportunity to test to see which appropriate level you should be in. And so that is just for native speakers that are native of Mandarin, Spanish, or French. If you're hoping to test out a Spanish 1, we do want to see that you've completed Spanish 1, okay, before moving on to Spanish 2, unless, of course, you're a native speaker. All right. And then PE. So as you can see here, there's lots of different options for PE. In the 9th grade year, what you do know is that students are going to be enrolled in PE 9 unless they are electing the option of independent study PE, which is something that has been available for students 6th through 12th grade. And the application process is through the district. That is supposed to be opening up on March 2nd. And so students will be able to fill out that application through the district website if they're interested in doing that. So make sure that they are meeting, one of the following criteria that it says right there. There's 3 different ways that you can qualify for it. You must fill out an application. The application opens on March 2nd. Okay. But PE 9, if you're not doing ISPE, PE 9 is the general one that the majority of our 9th graders do take. And then after 9th grade, students can fulfill their PE credits by taking a class, such as the ones that we have there listed on the following, like yoga, weights, net sports. They may also do athletic PE and use that as their credit starting in the 10th grade. So if you're participating on a JV or varsity team and you complete the season and compete in the season, then you're eligible to receive 10 credits of PE for 1 season. There is a form that needs to be filled out so that you can be granted those credits. It's not something that we do automatically. So students do have to apply for credit once their season is over. Okay, hopefully that makes some sense. And I think now I get to pass it over to Erin.
All right, moving on into our online course registration information. So your student has already received, or if you're on here as a student, you've already received the blue course selection sheet that we dropped off at the middle schools, I think last week. So those should have been passed out. You should have already been able to look over the sheet, glance at the classes that are being offered, and start kind of planning. If you did not receive one, there's in the next slide, I can show you what that looks like. And we will also be passing out folders full of good information at our open house. So our open house is on February 25th. I'll talk about that a little bit later. But we'll have lots of information for you in that folder. So hopefully you come to that night. If not, we'll provide it to the middle schools. But the registration period is open now, so February 12th. It closes on February 27th, so they really should have it done by February 26th, because we will be coming into the middle schools on into one of the middle schools on February 27th. I believe that's Iron Horse, to collect the forms, which I'm going to talk about here in a second, and meet with your students. So there is quite a bit of time here to go into the program and get those classes in. But just as a reminder, Ms. Youngberg just went over all of the requirements for 9th grade and all the classes that they'll be taking. So PE 9, Health, Ethnic Studies, Biology, Math class, and then they get to choose their English class. Those are the required courses, and then they'll be choosing one other class, whether that's a world language or an elective. Keep in mind, we do have students asking if they could take a 7th class. Keep in mind that there are restrictions on that. There's just not a lot of classes offered, not a lot of space. So as you can see here on the screen, you can choose a 7th class and it's still not guaranteed. You know, you can choose one and we try to accommodate students in these courses, but it's not guaranteed. So the courses listed are the only courses that can qualify a student for a 7th class. So they really need to be in a performing art class. So that would be band, choir, drama, dance, one of those courses, mock trial, that's a semester class, publications, that is our yearbook class if they want to help make the yearbook, and then newspaper. The only other one is a class for students that have IEPs. So please keep that in mind as you're choosing your classes, that if you're not in one of these programs, you will only be scheduled for 6 classes, which is what we want for a 9th grader starting out. You know, we do get some 9th graders coming in super excited to take classes, which is great, but we really want to start them with the 6 classes, regular day, get used to high school, get used to the rigor. It is a huge jump from middle school academics. So we do see some kids coming in struggling a bit. So we do want you to start with those 6. If, you know, if classes are easy for you, we do give those opportunities as they get a little bit older. So 6 classes, unless you qualify for one of those programs. Keep in mind, there is one change on the sheet that was passed out to the students. Engineering is an option as a 7th class. That is not an option anymore. We will not be offering that class. So just keep that in mind as you're going through and looking at the sheet. The B period class does meet. Ms. Youngberg went over the schedule already. Just to review, the B period class does meet at the end of the day, every day but Wednesday. So it's a little bit different than our block classes. And also keep in mind that if you do qualify for a 7th class, that class could be anywhere on your schedule. So any of your classes could be in the B period. It could be English, math, science. So if you do choose a 7th class, it's not necessarily going to be that B period. So it will be some point, you know, somewhere on your schedule. Okay, so this is just a screenshot of the course selection sheet you already received. As you can see, not a ton of options for 9th graders, but if you take a look at some of the sheets for 11th and 12th graders, that thing is full of classes. So you got to kind of get those fulfill those graduation requirements, grade level classes, and as you get, you know, past your sophomore year, you have a lot more flexibility to take electives and classes, you know, that you've been wanting to take. Okay. So keep in mind, these are the classes you can choose from. And if you choose a different class, we might have to switch that, you know, when we come to the middle schools to meet with you. But these are the courses offered for you. Okay, jumping into SchoolLinks. So SchoolLinks is the program that we're using this year for students to create their course plans. In the past, if you've had, you know, older children coming through, we've used Infinite Campus to log in and choose your classes. So SchoolLinks we're really excited about it. It's a great program. I mean, we're going to be using it for a lot of things with the students and getting them in. But right now, your student should have already been introduced to the program in their middle school. So they're going to be using the course planner feature. So just as an overview, SchoolLinks is our new platform for our district. And it's really a tool where they can plan out their 4 years of academics and modify those at any time. We're going to be going in, working with them like per grade level. So we'll be doing personality and interest inventories. Just we start kind of with that when they're young to try to, so they can learn about their strengths. What are they good at? What are they interested in? And then from there, we build on to more college and career planning. So that's kind of the sequence. Just now starting out, they're going to be using it for their course planner. Some of the kids have already been in there. We've noticed some students have already even started on their 4-year plans, which is great. But it helps them plan their courses. The courses that are pre-selected will already be in there. So as Ms. Youngberg talked about, there are courses that we just pre-select for them. So they don't have to go in and choose them. They're going to be choosing those 2 classes, the English and then their elective or world language. So some of the reasons why we like it, the goal is not to lock students into a career path early. The planner helps them explore, understand the graduation requirements and what it takes to get to a 4-year college. It really helps them see their 4-year plan and just make sure it's balanced, because we really need that balanced schedule year to year. They can explore new subjects in there and just make thoughtful choices, as they go through. And of course, these plans are not locked in. Every year we meet one-on-one with students and go over their plans with them just to make sure, is this still what you're thinking? Or do you want to explore, a different class or a different pathway? So students, it's important that they go in and at least select their 9th grade courses, and then we'll work with them as they go for the remaining years. So this is a really helpful slide. These are really helpful resources, as students are going in and choosing their classes. The middle link is our SchoolLinks how-to video. And it's about 7 minutes long, and it's super helpful step-by-step, pretty much how to get to SchoolLinks, how to choose the course planner, how to get in there and work on that 4-year plan or just the courses for this next year. So we do highly recommend everybody, all the students, go in there and watch that video. Only, like I said, about 7 minutes, and you'll have a really, really good understanding of how to register for classes in SchoolLinks. And I know the middle schools are helping out with that as well, the middle school counselors. There's a link to course selection, and then the course catalog link is there. That's really helpful as students go through high school, you can read about any class. So if you see a class on your course selection sheet that you don't really know what it is, like the course catalog is a great place to go just to read about the prerequisites, what this class entails, and what class you can take after that as well. There's also a link to the Cal High website, which really good information if you want to go there. Okay, so we are going to be coming into the middle schools to pick up the course planner sheets. So from now until February 26th you have, and then we want you to be able to bring those sheets with you when you come to your counselor meeting. We're coming to Iron Horse on Friday, February 27th. We're going to go to your science class, and we're going to be able to talk to you one-on-one, talk to you about your classes, maybe answer some questions. Pine Valley is on Monday, March 2nd, also to the science classes. So once you've watched the step-by-step, kind of know what to do. Again, once you're in there, it's pretty easy to navigate. So we would love you to download the PDF. So when you go to your course summary, you'll download the PDF and print out your course plan. It's really helpful to have the parent signature on the sheet. There is no signature line on this form, but if you can just kind of initial or sign, we know that you're on board with what your student is taking. That would be great. If it's not there, that's fine too. And we hope that the students will come with questions. We really like to meet them and answer any questions they have with entering high school.
All right, sorry, forgot to unmute again. Okay, so I know that we tend to get a lot of questions about non-district courses, and so we did want to make sure that we are thoroughly reviewing it with all of you. As you can see there, we have linked the web page for our district that goes over very much in detail about non-district courses and what options for students they do have if they would like to take a class outside of our school. So like I said, we do provide credit not just towards classes that students have an interest in taking, but also if they wanted to take a graduation requirement, they are able to do that with accredited online courses, off campus or community college courses. Um, there's also a total of 40 credits that students can place onto their transcripts. 40 credits is essentially 4 courses that can be placed onto the official transcript for Cal High and used towards meeting graduation requirements. We do have a limit of 20 credits per academic year. And also subject areas cannot exceed 20 credits either. So to get to the 40. So there's a lot of different stipulations. It's explained a lot more in detail on our non-district course webpage. So I do encourage you, if you are interested in doing this, to make sure that you visit that so you can read everything that it requires. Non-district courses, like I said, sometimes, it's a good choice for students, and we just want to make sure that parents and students are making, thoughtful choices, whether or not it's they're ready for it or whether or not it is a good thing for their child. Let's talk a little bit about the potential benefits. Obviously, there is some flexibility there, so it can help students manage legitimate schedule conflicts. Maybe a student has a lot of extracurriculars and they may want to take a certain class or get a certain requirement done outside. Also, the flexibility of aligning with a student's natural pace of learning. So with some of these courses that are done outside or whether they're done online with these accredited institutions, you may be able to work at a different pace than what a traditional classroom is like. Acceleration, it allows students who are truly ready to pursue more advanced coursework to go ahead and do that. And then, of course, I do like that it has an option for students where we might not have a certain course on our campus that a student is interested in and they find it and want to take it elsewhere. Certainly that could be an option as well. Now, some drawbacks to make sure that you are considering before you make these decisions, because I know a lot of kids, it concerns us a little bit just because kids are starting earlier and earlier. And I think that a lot of times, we may not see the effects of that until later on in their junior and senior year. So remember that some of the external courses, they can lack rigor and may not be well regarded by colleges. Academic gaps may appear also in rigorous courses. So we have our standards that we have in some of our courses, especially those where the sequence is important, like perhaps taking one math class to get into the next level of math class. We definitely go a lot more in depth. And so you want to just make sure that those academic gaps, that you're able to make sure that you're getting a quality course out there. And then, of course, there's always the burnout risk that we always, want parents and students to be aware of. We don't want that to happen in the most important high school years. Sometimes when you do see that, like our kids taking too many classes or taking more than they should or have too much on their plate, it could increase their stress and reduce sleep, less time for activities, and sometimes just, a loss of confidence if the pace becomes overwhelming for students and they thought they were ready for it. And then, keeping up with what they have going on in their extracurriculars and maybe during the school year can be very hard. So definitely just make sure that you're carefully considering those options. All right, so I always, when we do talk with parents or students about non-district courses, make sure that you are considering all of these questions and be honest about it in regards to your child and their motivation and whether or not they're ready to do it. So has my child consistently demonstrated both mastery and confidence in the subject? Okay, and so not just like strong grades, maybe, math is just their thing, and that is just something that comes very easily to them, and it always has, and maybe they just have a true understanding for it, and it makes sense for them to advance and accelerate. How does my child typically respond to academic challenge? So say, think when maybe your child was out sick for several days in a row or something? And how did they do? Was it for them when they had to go back to school and manage all the makeup exams and manage all the makeup work and try and get caught up and keep up at the same time? So do they lean in? Do they kind of become anxious about that? Something to consider. Also, what might my child have to give up to make room for this? And so remember, sleep is always seems to be a huge thing. Our teenagers are not getting enough of it, as we know. Activities, downtime, family connection, all of those things matter. And being able to answer honestly, is this creating opportunity or is it creating more pressure for our student? And then, of course, will this path still feel sustainable in junior year? Like I said, I think that we are seeing students trying to, taking classes outside earlier and earlier. And I think that oftentimes we may not see the ramifications of that until later on in their junior and senior year when they're in those upper level courses. So making sure that the path is still sustainable. All right. So the non-district courses, just so that you can see here, we do have a couple of requirements just so that we know, especially for students that are choosing it to advance into another math level or possibly another science level. We do have the NDC intent application that has to be completed if your student is planning on taking a class outside prior to entering ninth grade. The form must be completed by June 12th, 2026. Make sure that is, now it's definitely on the SRV USD website, so you'll be able to see it there, and it should be completed by then. Also, you can see on the right-hand side, NDC transcript updates. There'll be a link there. That's where you can see after you've completed the class and after you've requested that the transcript be sent in, you will be sending it in. That's where you'll be checking to see if it's been added to your Cal High transcript. So make sure that if you are planning on taking any sort of a course, the NDC intent application is 2026 and 2027 is completed. The link is here. So, and then it's also, it's also searchable on our SRV USD website. All right, I think I'm going to pass it over to Ms. Hill.
All right, just a final note about taking a non-district course. This is very important for 8th graders. So in order to have the course that if you're taking an outside course on your high school transcript, it needs to be completed after 8th grade graduation. Okay. So they must complete, if they're taking a spring NDC, they need to, if they want it on the high school transcript, they need to wait to take those final tests in order to have it be completed after the 8th grade year. Okay. If they do finish it early, it's not going to be able to be placed on the high school transcript. And for graduation requirements, we need those on the high school transcript. Okay, so just be aware of the deadlines. If you are taking an outside course, your student is, that it needs to be completed after graduation, June 4th, 2026. Algebra 1 is a graduation requirement. So if you're taking it outside of the district, again, it needs to be completed after June 4th. Okay, so keep that in mind. And Ms. Batu's our registrar who deals with NDCs. Information is on this page as well. Okay, moving along to our Cal High athletics. So we have, as you can see, we have a ton of sports here at Cal, and they're broken down by fall, winter, and spring sports. So you can take a glance at this list and see if there's any sports on there that you would like to try out for, or for fall, winter, or spring. Keep in mind the tryout information. So if you're interested in a sport, you can go to the Cal High website and take a look at when the tryouts are. Usually that's updated. If it's not, you can always email or reach out. Oftentimes coaches information is on there as well. So if you're interested in playing a sport, whether that's fall, winter, or spring, you could proactively kind of look at the website and see, usually sometimes they even have their own website. So if you go to like basketball or whatever sport, it might have a link to go to another website that they keep going. So you can get some good info, see pictures, and kind of start getting excited about joining those sports here at Cal. So some helpful information. We do get a lot of questions about athletics. So Keep in mind this helpful information. So 8th grade grades actually do matter for high school. So if you are wanting to play a fall sport, those start pretty early. So that's why it's good to go on the website and to take a look at like when tryouts are, when they're going to start their summer. Some of the fall sports have summer camps and summer training, and they really jump in there. So keep in mind, 8th grade grades matter. That's the grades they have to look at for fall sports because you don't have any grades from Cal High coming in. So keep in mind, you got to keep focusing that last semester of middle school. And I know it's easy to be like, oh, I'm almost done with middle school. I can't, I don't want to be here anymore. I totally get it. But you have to just stay strong, keep focused on those classes. If you want to play a sport here at Cal, that's the case for every semester that you're here. So you must maintain a 2.0 GPA, which is easy to do, but you must maintain that in order to be eligible for a sport throughout your entire time at Cal High. So they do grade checks at quarter grades, semester grades, so you do have to keep them up at all times. If a grade is low due to being absent or whatever reason, it's helpful to go to that teacher and make sure that grade is updated as soon as possible, to stay eligible for athletics. So registering on the athletic clearance, the link is on the Cal High athletics page. So you want to register your student on if they're going to be playing a sport at Cal. So it's really helpful to do that early. Even if you're going to be playing a spring sport, it's helpful to just register early. So you're in the system, and then it's going to require you to get a physical. So you have to go to the doctor and just get checked out before you're eligible to play a sport. There have been student athletes who kind of wait too long and they can't get an appointment and then they can't try out. Okay, so just make sure you do that early, make an appointment, get that physical sheet filled out, and you can upload it to the athletic clearance website. And you can go ahead and do that for multiple sports. So if you plan on, playing 1 to 2 to 3 sports, you can click all those sports, when you're registering. So you don't have to do it again. You only have to do that once a year and 1 physical per year. There is a waiver that if a student's having a rough year, rough semester, and their grades are falling below a 2.0, there's a one-time waiver. So we do not recommend students use this waiver in 9th or 10th, just because there's 4 years of sports to play and academics to be had. So we do recommend, you don't use it early, because what if something happens your senior year and, you can't play your sport? So that's a recommendation. The grades are checked at the quarter and semester, like I said. So just keep working hard and you'll be eligible. All right, next slide. Okay, so transitioning into student success. Okay, so we have a lot of advice here, for students entering into high school, and we want you to come in and just have a great experience. High school does fly by. It goes really fast. It's actually crazy how fast it goes. So we really want you to come in here and really use those 4 years and make the most of it. So getting involved is, we highly recommend you get involved. Like, you're only here in high school one time, and there's so many things you can get involved with. So we have over 100 clubs here at Cal. Something for everyone. We have clubs in regards to STEM. We have pet clubs. We have clubs, anything you can imagine. So getting involved is really important. It also helps you become a better member of the community, and maybe you can even create a club. We have kids coming in from middle school who have an idea. They come and say, can I start this club? Yes, you can. So joining a club, we recommend maybe trying out for a sport, joining a program, an organization. Students are super successful when they get involved, because then they're here involved in school, they're meeting their people, and it's a good experience. So getting involved is really key. And if you're having trouble getting involved or not knowing what to do, come see your counselor. We have lots of ideas. So we can help you, hook you up with students that have similar interests, or just kind of recommend some clubs or organizations that might be good for you. So Being on time. This one is huge. Being late, missing class is really hard, and students tend to get behind and they're playing makeup all the time. And teachers are like, okay, I've already been teaching and students coming in every day. So just being on time is key. The morning periods are when we see it the most because here on the block schedule, it's really hard to be late because we have like a big break after every period here on a block schedule. So it's actually kind of hard to be late. But in the mornings, I know it's hard, but just getting in those habits of getting here on time, it's going to make your whole day better. And it just gets you off to a good start and you don't have to play catch up. So we highly recommend students check their email regularly. I know that you might not be in middle school, but when you get to high school, like lots of important information is shared in regards to like upcoming events, and your teachers might email your counselor, like lots of things that are being emailed. And I know that your inboxes might get flooded a little bit, but we don't want you to miss out on important information. And we recommend you check it regularly, not, every single day unless you want to. But in high school, a lot of information is shared. So get in those habits of checking your email and also checking Google Classroom. Just you're on top of your grades. Your parents are there as well to guide you and check and encourage you to do your work. But now that you're in high school, it's important to like be on top of your grades and know your grades and kind of know how you're doing. And check your transcript at the end of the semester. But if you fall behind, don't sit back. Don't sit back and get super behind and worried and not know what to do. Please reach out to your teachers, your counselors. We're here for you, okay? So we have student support sessions here at Cal. Ms. Youngberg talked about them a little bit earlier. They're built into the schedule. So they're every day but Wednesday. And it's a great opportunity to get tutoring, ask your teacher questions, work on your homework projects. Like it's pretty much built-in tutoring to our schedule. So we definitely recommend students utilize that and use that time wisely because it is built in for them. And counselors also can help get students set up with certain student supports and tutoring and things like that. So that is just a little bit of the advice we have, but we're hoping that you come in and kind of get in these habits, and Ms. Youngberg can move on and talk about advice for parents.
All right. So
Can I just interrupt really quick? Sorry, Cheryl.
yes.
I just want to
Yeah, go ahead.
address. Hi, everybody. So the Q&A feature does not appear to be working with the Teams call for some reason. We did turn on the chat, but if you've been watching the chat, you can see it's really difficult to answer individual questions in the chat because as all the questions come in, I just can't keep the answers organized. So it's really not an effective way to get questions answered, unfortunately. A lot of the questions that are coming in are about individual student questions, about individual NDC courses, et cetera. So we are available to chat. All the counselors will be there at the open house on the 25th, right, Erin? 25?
Yes, the 25th.
All of us will be there that night, and we will be at a table ready to answer questions if you have them. And we're also going to see every student one-on-one at their middle school. So I see your questions, but if you can see how many there are, and it's just really difficult to answer them in the chat. So I just wanted to throw that out there.
Thank you, Ms. Bellini. All right, kind of moving back to the presentation here. I know there's a lot going on and I know there's a lot of info coming out at you. So if you guys can hang on there. So sorry about the Q&A part. We don't know why that happened, but we opened up the chat. So we'll do the best that we can. All right, so parents and caregivers, I know for many of you guys, this might be your first high schooler, or for some of you guys, maybe it's not. But either way, it's always just a nerve-wracking time when that student transitions from middle school to high school. And there's lots of different ways that we want you to be able to support your kids. But essentially, we did kind of put up a list here. These are things that we just want to make sure that you're on top of. I think it's a great idea, especially because there's so many emails that are coming in to you guys as far as events that are going on in the high school, other types of things that are going on around the district. So I was given this tip before and I wish I had done it sooner, but creating a school specific email address where all of your email just goes, all of the school stuff just goes to one email and you can deal with just the school stuff. I think that's been very helpful for a lot of parents. making sure, obviously, that you're accepting those Google Classroom invites from the teachers so that you can help support your child, when they may need some support with their schoolwork and such. Also, reviewing the Google Classroom one time a week with your student. A lot of times too, with the parent access, sometimes it's important to be able to sit down next to your child and just kind of go over everything and make sure that they're fulfilling what they need, or if they need support in something, and helping to support them so that you guys are partnering together. All right. And then of course, helping your student build those self-efficacy skills. All right. So what do we mean by that? That means, a little more having the student advocate for their needs and encouraging them to go and see their counselor, encouraging them to talk to their teacher if they have any worries or concerns or questions. And so we love it when kids take the initiative and come and see us if they have a question. And we want those students to build those skills, and it starts early in the 9th grade year. All right. And then of course, just the normal stuff with teenagers, nurturing a schedule that allows them to sleep, participate in activities. We want them to be able to not just be studying every second of the day. For high school, we want them to be able to truly experience it. It's not, it's not something we want them to just survive. We want them to experience and enjoy high school. All right. And then sign up to receive the Cal High Fairfax newsletter on our school website. That is a great way to just kind of get a good one-pager on what's going on at Cal High, upcoming dates, things like that. On the left-hand side there, you're going to see that we linked a PDF. A document. And the document is how to prioritize PDF. PDF in this sense stands for playtime, downtime, and family time. And this has just been a really great resource. I really liked it. It is actually from challengesuccess.org, which is out of Stanford. And so they definitely see the stress, the overwhelm, the burnout in high school students, and they're doing a lot of research about it, and they're putting out a lot of great things, and some even like webinars and such for parents and for counselors and for teachers to kind of support our students. But this one was a really good one. So if you do get a chance, I would definitely check it out. I think it's a great way to make sure that students and children they're prioritizing their playtime, their downtime, and family time. That's so important for them to have, in healthy adolescence. All right, so I know I can sense the anxiety. I can feel it. I see how the chat is kind of going off right now. And a lot of parents just want to make sure, and students want to make sure that they're making the right decisions in high school to prepare them for whatever comes after high school, right? Whether that be college or whatever their goal is post-grad. We just kind of created a slide here that kind of goes over a lot of the worries that we hear from parents, as far as, here's what we're hearing, but here's the reality. So here's the perception versus reality. I do want to acknowledge that there are definitely some educational systems out there around the world where students, are asked to decide on a career direction pretty early. And I want to be very clear that our system here is intentionally different. Okay. We value exploration. We do not want students to be able to figure out by their 10th grade year whether they're going to be an artist, an entrepreneur, a lawyer, a doctor, an engineer. We encourage exploration, and it's considered quite a strength in college admissions. Okay, so just kind of going through the list here. Here's what we always hear. Students must take the hardest classes every year to be competitive. And so, as you know, the goal is not maximum rigor at all costs. The goal is finding that right challenge where the student is engaged, curious, and able to maintain well-being. I think that a lot of times, we love that our students want to challenge themselves, but it's an appropriate challenge, one that they can maintain, and one where they're not sacrificing their health over it. Because I know that a lot of kids are very motivated and driven and are pushing themselves. but creating that balance and figuring that out early is the key to success, not just in high school, but when they do go on to college. More AP or honors classes automatically make a college application stronger. We wish that we could give you the secret to how to get into the best college, how to do those things, but the reality is that there is no perfect recipe to get into those colleges, as you know. And taking as many APs or trying to do every single thing or every single AP is not necessarily the answer. Okay, balance absolutely matters. Overloading, as you know, can lead to stress, lower grades, and burnout. And I promise you, colleges can sense that. They notice the energy, they notice the curiosity. They can see when a transcript is simply just stacked with classes. All right. Students need to decide on a career path early. Absolutely not. I did not know what I wanted to do when I was in high school for the rest of my life. And we shouldn't expect our own kids to either. You know, I love that they have interests and they're kind of gearing towards something, but we really encourage students to explore. Exploration is strongly encouraged. Colleges place a very high value on curiosity and growth. All right. Doing more activities is better. Depth and commitment stand out far more than long activity lists. So it's not about joining as many clubs as you can. It's not about volunteering for, 7 different organizations. It's about, yeah, you can certainly test those things out. But if, you find something and you're exploring and you find something that you're interested in on, take a look at that and go in a little more depth with that, right? Commit to it for a few years. It's not just about creating a long list on your resume. It's definitely quality over quantity. All right, struggle and exhaustion are signs of rigor. Remember, as we all know, thriving students, they're going to demonstrate energy, they're going to be engaged, they're going to be able to show resilience, they're going to be able to bounce back from setbacks. I think sometimes, we all worry and we think that, oh, they're not busy enough, or they're spending way too much time with their friends or things like that. But that's very important time for them to grow. They should be able to have time with their friends. They should be able to have downtime with their family, and they should be able to have some time for them to explore their personal interests. So it's more about just catering to that and really, really encouraging that. And then, of course, I feel like we get this a lot, especially from our current high schoolers, where they are so, they have some tunnel vision a little bit too, and they get very upset and worry that one class or one semester is going to totally ruin their college chances. And that just is not the case. As you are looking into, colleges and such and seeing how the college admissions process happens, they do understand that kids are growing, that kids are learning, that kids are going to make a mistake. They like to see that growth and an upward trend, but in no way does one class or one semester ruin your opportunities for college. All right, so kind of what we say is interest plus appropriate challenge equals healthy growth, something to consider as your child starts high school. All right, this is just a recommended reading. All the counselors have read this. Actually, a lot of our staff members have read it too, that we have found very valuable. It's a book called Never Enough. And, they kind of go over what it's like, especially being in a community like ours, where it's super competitive. A lot of students are very motivated and driven. And oftentimes their schedules are extremely busy. And so this just kind of breaks it down really nicely for parents. I read it myself, not just as a counselor, but as a parent myself to my 3 kids. And I feel like it was very, very helpful. These are things that I see every day, but it's a different thing when you're the parent. And I was feeling all of these things when it came to my own children. So we thought it was a helpful, it's a great book, great resource to kind of take a look at, but one to think about. Never Enough. And as you can see what the chapters are, as far as, the pressure cooker, helping them, find their self-worth, helping them understand how much they matter and how they add value. So great recommend reading if you're able to. All right, I will pass it back over to Ms. Hill.
All right, so we will be having a wing. It's called Wing, welcoming in new Grizzlies. So this day is in the summertime before school starts. So just keep your eye out for the invitation in July. This is a super fun event. Students will come. It's led by leadership. So students will come and do fun activities, be in groups, be able to do tours. So we really recommend if you're free that day to come in. You'll get the invite a little bit later. I don't know the exact day it's going to be, but Wing is definitely a great event to kind of get used to high school before it starts. So your first opportunity to come to the school is on February 25th. This is our open house, and it's a super fun night. You will be getting more information about the open house next week. You'll get event details and open classrooms and just what's going on. But in the letter we sent, we did give an overview of what the night is about. So the open house is a time for students to come and visit classrooms, talk to teachers. The tours are self-guided, so they can go in whatever building they would like. All the buildings are open for the most part, and just really get a feel for the campus. We will be having just a little fun scavenger hunt they can do, and there is a prize if they do the scavenger hunt. They'll win one person from each school will win a Cal High t-shirt. So maybe that will be your motivation to do the scavenger hunt. But it just helps you go and like look at the different areas of the school. We'll be having a club fair in the Commons, so students can take a look at like all the clubs that we have and talk to students who are running those clubs, and they can even put their name on an interest list. So when they get to high school, they're already kind of part of it. We will be having food trucks, so bring your appetites. So there'll be food trucks, and then we'll be having a sports information session in the gym. So I know I haven't been able to go through the chat because a lot of questions have come in, but I did see some questions about athletics. The coaches will be here. So in the small gym, there'll be tables set up for each sport, and you can come and talk to student athletes and coaches and put your name on the interest list of maybe wanting to play that sport in high school. And that would be, yeah, I mean, that's a great place to go if you have questions about any of those athletic teams. And last but not least, we'll be having some live performances of some of our fine arts programs, band, choir. We'll be just putting on a little bit of a show, just entertainment for you, and hopefully you get interested in possibly joining those programs when you come to Cal. So that is February 25th, 6 o'clock. That's when it starts. Principal will welcome you. There'll be some performances. You'll pick up your folder, and we do recommend students pick the folder up because we do have one folder per student. So sometimes in the past, maybe a student's picked it up, then a parent. So we do hope to hand it to the students. So come by the tables, get your folder, lots of good info in there about Cal High, lots of things. So grab a folder. If not, we'll bring some to the middle schools. You can pick it up from the office. And then for an hour, there's the open house where you can just freedom to go around, explore. We'll be there. Counselors will be there as well if you have questions to come up to the table. So we're really excited. Hopefully everyone's able to come that night. All right, so just the timeline broken down so it's easy to see. Tonight, obviously, we're doing the information night open house on February 25th, and you'll receive information regarding that next week, just some more little details about it. Make sure you have your course plan in School Links by February 26th. I mean, even if you're not 100% sure about it, just submit your plan, and then counselors will be there to just make sure your plan is great. We can make adjustments if needed. But just make sure you kind of submit that, print out the PDF if possible, just so you have like a hard copy we can look at. We're coming to the middle schools to look at that on February 27th and March 2nd. If your student is absent, that's okay. We will still take a look at their course plan. Any student that's absent, we will make sure we look at each and every course plan, and they can certainly send questions over as well. May 8th is the final day to make changes to your course selections. So your middle school counselor is aware of this process. So if you do have a change of heart, maybe you want to delay your biology, or maybe you want to add an elective, you can go ahead and let your middle school counselor know that, and they're going to be communicating with us. So we have a process, so we know all the changes that come in. But by May 8th is the deadline. After that, the master schedule is pretty set, and we'll be like forming classes, and everything will be set until if you change your mind, we have a course change process at the beginning of the school year. All right, so Grizzly merch. I know you might be super excited about getting some Cal High gear, and this is your opportunity. So we have an amazing store. As you can see, there's really good looking clothes here that you can order. It's open now. And it closes pretty soon, so March 4th. So all this gear is available from now until March 4th at midnight. So we're hoping you get in there, kind of get some gear, pretty spirited school, so you can, wear that gear to school, to games. It's awesome to have. There's pajamas and sweatshirts and anything you can imagine. It's probably in the store. And I put a little logo here. There's a Mama Bear t-shirt. I think that's super cute. So if you're interested in getting a Mama Bear Cal High shirt, you can go in there and get one. And the QR code's there and also the website. Okay, so that wraps up our presentation. I know I didn't see that a lot of the questions coming in are actually questions that we did answer at the beginning of the presentation or in the middle if you might have come in a little late. So this will be recorded. It is being recorded, and also it's going to be put on the website for you to refer to the slides as well.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Bellini, for managing that. And again, we apologize. We're not quite sure what happened to the Q&A feature, but we did turn on the chat, and I know they came in like 100 miles per hour. So any ones that we can answer?
Yeah, that I want to just address transfer students because a lot of people are concerned, like if your student currently goes to Windermere or goes to a middle school outside of the district, the process might be a little bit different for your student, but Ms. Batu, the registrar, will be communicating with you directly about how we can get your students' course selections in. So you absolutely do not need to worry if if they don't have access to school links yet, or it says, Doherty Valley High School or something in their course links, it's complete, or in their school links, it's completely fine. We will sort all of that out once all the transfers have gone through and everything is settled, and Ms. Batu will be emailing you with all of that. And we really invite anyone who believes they're coming to Cal High next year, whether the transfer is through or not, to come on the 25th, and then you can talk to us in person then.
Awesome.
The rest of, it's just so hard because the questions kind of run the gamut, and I did try to answer as many as possible. We are posting the slides to this presentation, so you can actually click the links and the video of the presentation as well on our website. I put the link in there a couple times, and I put it in there now, just so everyone can see it. This is our course registration page. It has all of the course registration sheets, starting with 9th grade. It has a link to the course catalog. It has a link to lots of things. And this video and the slides will be posted there as well, probably beginning of next week.
Great. And, I do think it's helpful because we went over so much information and there was a lot of talking and a lot of slides. So take advantage of, maybe look at the recording when we do get that posted onto our YouTube page and onto our website. We will also have the slide deck out there so that you can also click on the links that we have provided on there. So lots of opportunities to be able to kind of take your time with it, slow it down a little bit, and do some research. And of course, like we mentioned before, we'll be available at our open house to answer any sort of questions that you might have. We'll be there the whole evening and excited to see all of you. But I'm just trying to scroll through the chat here to see if there's any like general questions that are very similar, but you're right. It looks like there's a lot of individual questions in here and a lot of questions about non-district courses. Hopefully you can take a look at the link for our district that we do have for there. And of course, if there are any additional questions, we could certainly answer that next week. I think I did see one where it's like our students are supposed to go to the open house next week. And absolutely, please, yes, students, that's who we want to see the following in a couple of weeks here.
Students and families are welcome. Obviously, we want the students to come so they can get that feel for the campus, and just it's a super exciting night. And a reminder, some of the questions coming in, like we will be meeting with your students, so they can certainly come with questions as well. And tell them, if you're a student on the call, don't be shy. Go ahead and come with your question, talk to the counselors. We will be talking to you one-on-one, so don't hesitate to ask us anything at that time. Come with a list. If you're worried you'll forget, just come with a list of questions and we would love to chat with you.
And just a couple of things too, Becky, if you want to confirm, as far as I know, a couple of questions about Korean that is not being offered next year. And then also with Avid. Um,
Yeah, so yeah, we're not continuing with our Korean program or our engineering pathway program at this time. So a lot of people asked about the engineering program at the very beginning of when the chat first opened. So I know those questions were back there. So that class is not going to be available for selection for anybody. And then Avid, that process will be going through the middle school, I believe. So the applications and the things that were required for Avid will be coming from the middle school counselor. So if you are interested in the Avid program, you can chat with your middle school counselor about that. And in terms of the reasons for not offering programs, I think you have probably all heard over the last couple of years the budget cuts and things that the district has been dealing with. And so this is sort of some of the fallout of that.
all right, wonderful. Okay, I know it's been a long hour and 15. Thank you guys so much for hanging in there and listening to the whole presentation. Again, we'll have this posted as soon as we can. We'll get it up on our YouTube page and onto our website so that you guys can review it with your child. And we look forward to seeing you on February 25th. Okay, all right. Thank you all. Take care.
Bye, thanks.
Bye, have a good night.